This is Prep Sports Now, a Las Vegas Sun podcast. We're presented by the A's and Las Vegas Aviators. We'd like to thank them for their continued support of high school sports, everything we do at the Sun. I'm Ray Brewer, Prep Sports Now. Special guest coming down the hatch, my guy Edgar Cruz. He's a former Virgin Valley football player, lived in Mesquite forever. Brothers played for the program. And he's a huge fan of our show, constantly sends us updates on game night. And it's Hammer Game Week, Edgar. Thank you so much for joining me here on Prep Sports Now.
No, thank you, Brewer. It's a pleasure being on the podcast. Been an avid listener since, right after I graduated high school, I've been listening to your podcast. I hear you and Case have been going at it for a while and kind of bummed out we didn't listen to you guys as much back when I was playing. Probably would have gave us some bulletin board material or at least some praise. And we know that, there's people looking out for our small town communities out here in the 3A.
Yeah, and you, the one thing I've admired about you from a distance is, and not just you, but everybody who kind of follows the 3A from Lake Tahoe guy up north and some of the other folks that message me on game nights is the 3A, and I always go back to what Slam refers to it as the SEC of Nevada high school football. But there's some competitive games that are made even tougher by when you have to travel to from Virgin to Pahrump. And you guys are really competitive against each other, but at the same time, look out for each other. There's kind of a little fraternity there. And that's important to me. And why I think that the Hammer game, which is arguably Nevada's oldest rivalry, is so important. But you've played in the game and watched a few of them. Are the crowds as crazy as I hear they are?
Oh, yes. Both communities pour out for those games. I think the history of the rivalry itself speaks out on why the communities are so big on that game. Both towns were founded in the early 1900s, basically from, not siblings, but families, that's what a lot of people in the crowds are, families from not only from Overton and Mesquite, but people from Mesquite who have moved to Overton and lived in Overton and now have Pirates playing, or they're who are now Pirates instead of in Bulldogs, and vice versa. You have people from Overton who have moved to Mesquite and they're generations of Pirates and they're now Bulldogs, so that's why it's so huge. It's not only both communities coming together, but there's a lot of kind of family tied to it.
Love it. And that's what makes the night so special. And I also like how, Virgin Valley coach Matt Woods is a graduate of the school. Moapa Valley coach Brett Lewis, a graduate of the school. Definitely adds some intrigue to the rivalry. In terms of the game that we're going to see, I think it's going to be close. And I don't know if either team is going to try to pass the ball that much. Both teams better running it this year. Drew Dixon, the sophomore, for your Virgin Valley Bulldogs. How do you see the game going, and do you think it's going to be close?
I definitely think it's going to be a close game. I mean, both teams run the ball so well. Brett Lewis has been doing it for so many years that he just knows how to run that wing T offense to perfection. And I think this year the Bulldogs have been doing so well running the ball. And when it's time to pass, we have a quarterback who's been, he doesn't attempt many passes per game, but he is very efficient. I think our running game has definitely led to that, as well as Moapa, who's just a monster when it comes to running the ball. So I think it's definitely going to be a kind of a ground and pound type of game, and it's going to be hard-nosed, and I see it being very close. It could be a one-possession game, and I don't see it you guys had your $5 bet. I would put a spread on this, about 3.5 would be the closest I could see it being.
Who would be favored, though?
To be honest, after I was able to watch the stream of the Virgin Valley and Slam game, and I did see that Slam was a little off on the field, but they still competed, and I think that win kind of solidified so far right now as the Bulldogs being the favorite, but in a rivalry game, everybody knows there are no favorites.
Yeah, so I watched Slam play Moapa, and the one thing I noticed is Slam, player for player, was bigger on the lines, yet for some reason they were getting pushed around a little bit. And I am just amazed at how hard both communities have their kids performing on game day. There's no plays off, and I think that's what makes it so interesting. And we've got this kind of weird little three-way tie only because Virgin got knocked with a double forfeit against Democracy Prep. I haven't seen the film from that game, but Virgin will tell you that they weren't at fault, but they got kind of lumped in with a double forfeit based on the NIAA rules. And it's created this odd little three-way tie where Slam beat Moapa. Virgin's technically got one loss to Democracy, and all this is going to shake out. And if Virgin wins, they'll be the 1 seed for the playoff, which is huge because you won't have to travel up to play Truckee. But if Moapa wins, it looks like Slam gets the number 1 seed. I don't know if anybody beats Truckee in the semis or the championship game, but there's a lot of intrigue going into Thursday night.
Yes, there definitely is a lot of intrigue going into Thursday night because there's so much on the line, not only for the Dogs, but as well as for the Pirates. Because if they lose, they are definitely going to be touted as a 3 seed, and anything could go as a 3 seed. It could be matched up against anybody. But not only as well, there's implications down here, but up north, there is also implications on who could be the 2, 3, and 4 seed up there, which could decide who or which team travels either to Slam or Virgin, depending on the outcome of Thursday's game.
Yeah, so it's definitely a fun time for the Class 3A. In the larger classification, which I know you also follow, there's a similar scenario behind Bishop Gorman. So Bishop Gorman's going to smoke Desert Pines. They'll get the playoff bye next week. And then following behind them, you've got Liberty against Arbor View and Coronado against Foothill. Well, we are going to assume that Coronado is going to beat Foothill, and then if Liberty beats Arbor, then we're going to have a lot of confusion. Of course, you want to avoid the side that Bishop Gorman's on because you don't want to play them until Allegiant Stadium. So we're basically going to get the bracket for the top league to see who's going to play in the state championship game against Gorman.
Yes, I believe that top division is so, besides Gorman, it's so kind of, like you said, jockeying for where we could place ourselves to avoid Gorman until in Allegiant. And I believe this Thursday's result is going to kind of know what position and who goes against who to try to avoid Gorman and try to get to that state game and play at the Raider Stadium.
I love the avoid Gorman strategy. It's deployed and it's the real deal. Same with the Gorman hangover strategy. Basic doesn't have a game this week, but they got crushed pretty good last week, 63-0. And, realignment is such an interesting thing because you see a team like Spring Valley who underachieved for 4 years. They got demoted down to the Class 4A, and they're 8-1. They've beat up on the Canyon Springs and the Chaparrals. And then you've got teams in the 3A that let's be honest, Boulder, Pahrump, Moapa, and Virgin wish they could play each other. They want nothing to do with a Democracy Prep or a Mater East or a Slam Nevada, and yet they have to play them. And it's just, I find the whole way the town is kind of aligned to be interesting because Basic shouldn't be playing Gorman. Faith Lutheran arguably shouldn't be playing the teams they're playing to be undefeated. And there's no way Spring Valley should be in the 4A.
No, I agree with you. I believe realignment in the top divisions have kind of hindered those how do I explain it? Kind of hindered some of the teams that in the competitiveness level. And then you have, the 4A where, you have your Ranchos, your Westerns, your Shafts of the world. and they deserve to be competitive. I just think that realignment in some divisions has brought back that kind of competitiveness edge to it. But like you said, there's some schools who should not be playing against each other. Last week was a great example between Bishop Gorman and Basic, and I think realignment definitely needs to be tweaked out a little bit more. We're kind of finding what works and what doesn't. But I think this next realignment meeting that's going on, the NIAA, is going to definitely shape the landscape for the next few years of how competitive it will be between divisions.
Yeah, and the truth is you're never going to make everybody happy with realignment. It's impossible. There's always going to be a team that kind of falls off a little bit. And I like Mr. Jackson, the new executive director of the NIAA, and I think he has the vision to make it more fair for people. So I'm definitely rooting for them to get that rectified and move on. But I will tell you, there's been some fun games, especially in that Class 5A Division II, where between Legacy, Faith, Shadow Ridge, and Green Valley, that's a really darn good Final Four if we get that. Shadow Ridge is getting healthy. They put up a ton of points last week against Silverado. They run the ball well. Between Evan Williams and Trey Glasper, Green Valley's got two really elite athletes. Of course, Legacy, postseason tested, defending 4A state champions, and they've got a great player, Donna McOliver. They also have a bye, and Faith Lutheran undefeated with Mike Sanford, a college coach, as their coach. That's the best division in my mind, and probably the one I'm going to be closely watching during the postseason.
I think the 5A2 is, in my opinion, behind just the 3A, is the most competitive, almost equally across the board division there is, not only down south, but up north. And here's the thing, Brewer. Up north, they're saying Minogue is the team to beat in the 5A2. That after they played Reed a few weeks ago and won, that Minogue up north is the team to beat, is what they're saying up there. But I believe that we have the team to beat down here in the south, especially with Faith Lutheran. What Mike Sanford's doing over there has been impressive. Faith Lutheran, for a while, kind of had after their state championship back a few years back in, it was 2013, 2014, I'm not sure what year it was. After they won that in the 3A, they've kind of been in this hanging in the middle of the pack, kind of finding where they at. And now with Sanford, I believe Faith, like you said, it's their state championship to lose, and I believe that is true. I don't think Minogue is as good as Faith this year, but they're saying it could be Minogue or Faith this year, but like you said, those Final Four teams that we can see in the postseason, it could make one heck of a postseason down here in the 5A2.
So what I really like about Faith is, when it gets colder out and you have to run the ball in the playoffs, they've got a great tailback in Kel Breslin, who's going to BYU. Their quarterback, Alex Rogers, is mobile. He hasn't coughed the ball up much this year. And I just think that they've been the most consistent team that we've seen in that classification. Legacy has had a real tough schedule. I love how they have the bye right now. They had the bye last year when they ended up winning a state championship, and it's and the writing's on the wall. So, like I said, it's going to be a really, really, really good postseason in a lot of classifications, and I'm looking forward to it. And I am ready to do the picks. I don't know if you're prepared for this, but we're definitely going to do the picks and see how far we can make it.
Fire away, Brewer. Let's see what we're going to come.
All right. Well, I don't want to – I think I know what you're going to pick in the first game, but your alma mater against the team from Overton, Virgin versus Moapa, hammer game.
Well, you pretty much tell who I'm going to pick, but – instead of telling you who I'm going to pick, I'm just going to give you a score prediction.
Okay.
I believe the Dogs are going to squeak it out 35-28.
35-28. Well, I've got Moapa winning, of course, because I wouldn't want to rock the boat, but I don't have that many points at all. I think this is going to be a 13-12 game based on conversions. I think it's going to run, and they're going to run and run and run again. Mowapa's hasn't been great throwing the ball all year. I don't think they want to throw the ball. I think they want to get some momentum going with their run game. And if I was setting a total for the game, I'd have the total at like 33 or 34. So we agree that it's going to be close, but I don't necessarily think that it's going to be as high scoring that you have. So looking forward to that.
I agree. It could be either a low-scoring game or a high-scoring game, but it's never really kind of in the middle.
Exactly. Okay, next game. Coronado at Foothill. Foothill's looked really rough the last 2 weeks. Of course, they've been playing Gorman and Liberty. I've got the Cougs comfortably over the Falcons.
Oh, I agree. They have that quarterback in Aiden Krause, AK as they call him over there. And I believe he's the real deal. I've seen a little bit of film on him, and he's legit. I will say that he's a good quarterback for the Cougars. So I do see Coronado pulling away in this one as well.
All righty, next game, Desert Pines at Gorman. Gorman can name its final score the rest of the way.
I agree. Gorman can put up a tweet somewhere saying we're going to win by this much, and they're going to make it into fruition this week. I feel bad for the Jaguars.
I love that. Okay. Palo at Faith. Again, Faith is on a crash course with Minogue for state. They won't trip up this week.
I agree. Palo actually has Virgin Valley's former defensive coordinator, Charlie Jarvis, over there. So I'm taking the Jarvis train and Palo Verde to keep it rolling.
Okay, so one reason why that pick might not be so bad is because Faith has already wrapped up the 1 seed, so they're playing for literally nothing this weekend, except senior night, of course.
Agreed. I will say Faith will probably play out for the seniors, but I'm a Virgin Valley homer, so Charlie Jarvis, I believe, can find a way to stop that Faith Lutheran offense.
All right. Next game, which is a good one, Arbor at Liberty. And Arbor has never beaten Liberty. Liberty has won 2 in a row. They're playing a lot better. But they still did get crushed by Coronado, and Arborview did beat Coronado. How do you see this one shaking out?
I believe that Arborview has the Thatcher brothers. The Thatcher brothers, I think, is going to be a big factor in this game. And Arborview looks like a well-oiled machine outside of facing Gorman, and I do believe that the Aggies are going to run away with this one.
So I have Arborview winning as well. I think it's going to be close. I just love the way their offense is looking and feeling. I mean, they scored twice against Gorman, which should go on the resume for the play caller at Arborview, because that's unheard of. So I'll take the Aggies. It should be close. Next game, Battle of the Desert, Cheyenne, Cimarron. Rivalry started in 91. Used to be the best teams in town, not so much anymore. I've got Cheyenne in a coin flip game, 18-17.
I'm actually going to pick Cimarron. I think Cimarron has looked a little bit better and cleaner than Cheyenne in some of their games. Cheyenne still, I think, is starting to get their footing, but I don't think they have that ball rolling yet. So I'm going to take Cimarron on this one. Okay,
and I like that pick. Cimarron hung with Mojave last week in a close loss. Speaking of Mojave, league championship game against Somerset. Maybe Mojave last week that beat Cimarron 16-7. Maybe they were a little guilty of looking ahead to next week and what would be the league championship game. Of course, even if they lost to Cimarron, it would have still been the league championship game. Who do you have? Losi against Mojave.
My pick is going to surprise you a little bit, Brewer, but I'm actually taking Mojave just because Mojave beat the Dogs earlier this season while Losi fell to the Dogs earlier this year. So I believe Mojave is just a slightly better team, but not by much.
All right, well, I got the other side. I've got Losi in a close game, 21-18. Looking forward to that. Next game, we'll go quick on this one. Canyon at Valley. Valley trying to get its footing, struggling with numbers, haven't won this year. Canyon rolls.
I agree. Canyon rolled this week. I send my regards to the Valley program. I hope they get things started and rolling back up again.
Okay, Silverado has been competitive at times. Still looking for their first win. They host the Gators of Green Valley. I've got the Gators of Green Valley.
As well, the Gators seem like they're finding their footing towards the end of the season, and I believe they're going to make a little surprise run in the playoffs, in my opinion.
Well coached with Bill Powell. Next game, Spring Valley at Chaparral. My Cowboys will not be winning this week.
I agree, Ray. Big love for Shop as well. Been to that campus many times for a lot of games and other extracurricular activities. Love the community out there.
I do too. It's my home. Okay, Sierra Vista at Shadow Ridge. I think that Mustangs might be rolling here. Watch out in the playoffs if they could get healthy. I got Shadow rumbling and tumbling to a big win over Sierra Vista.
I agree. The Mustangs are doing a great job with that running game that they have over there. That triple option is just killing a lot of teams, just struggling to find their footing. So I do believe the Mustangs roll this week.
Got it. Up next, Centennial at my Kitty Cats, the Vegas Wildcats. Everybody knows how much I love the East Side teams. Christian Body has been getting it done on the ground all year. Michael Walker, 4 tutties last week in a nice little win for Las Vegas. And I think they beat Centennial as well.
I agree with you. I think the Wildcats this year with their new coach is doing a phenomenal job under his first year helm. And I think the Wildcats are on the right trajectory.
Yep, Jose's doing a great job. Next game, Sunrise Mountain at Clark. I am so shocked that Sunrise Mountain hasn't won a game. I know they struggled early getting some kids eligible. They are not a winless team that's awful, but they might not win a game this year. So I've got Clark, a decent little young team.
I got the Miners just because if you look at the scores of all their games, they have been in each and every one of their games. And I believe Coach Sawyer's former coach of the Bulldogs will get it done this week.
All righty. Boulder at Pahrump. You've made that trip to Pahrump before. It's tough to play there. If this game was in Boulder, I might have picked Boulder, but it's in Pahrump, and I've got the Trojans.
I have the Trojans as well. Quick little fun fact, the Boulder City Pahrump is also another small rivalry in the 3A that's overlooked, but I do have the Trojans this week. Both cities been having issues with injuries this year, so I got the Trojans. You know, nobody, or what do you say, Brewer? Nobody wins in Pahrump or over the hump to Pahrump? Yeah,
exactly. Next one's a coin flip game. Desert Oasis at Durango. Durango struggles to score. D.O. is very inconsistent. Who do you got?
Just like I said, I think it's the most coin flip game this week. I will take D.O.
I have Durango, 22-21. Again, heads or tails. We flipped it. Next up, Rancho at Western. I can't believe I'm picking Western by 30 points, but I am. Western over Rancho, who needs an off season as bad as anybody else.
I agree. Western, it seems like they have found their footing now with their new quarterback. And Rancho lost to Lincoln County, so that tells me a lot. I have the Warriors.
Yeah, alrighty. So this is Prep Sports Now. Shout out again to the A's and Las Vegas Aviators. If you want to be a guest host like my guy Edgar Cruz, hit me up on Twitter at RayBrewer21. We're doing it with guest host, not Case Kiefer this year. Edgar, my man, thank you for your support of everything we do at the Sun, brother, and I hope you have fun on Thursday night.
Thank you as well, Brewer. It was an honor being on the podcast. Hope we have another one next year, and hopefully it goes great. Everybody on Thursday, good luck. Have fun out there.
All right, brother. Be good, man. Thank you.